tonight's video with the popular anime RWBY by Rooster Teeth. Today, last episode we talked about the science of the Grim. Now we are going to be talking about the science of the FAUNACE. Now, before I get started, I want to go out and say that you guys are free to make any critiques to my previous video, or if you want me to revise that video and refine what I was trying to say and explain it better, let me know in the comments section below. I am more than happy to, because I realized I was just kind of making stuff up as I went along, and I should have thought out my theories a little better. So I want to apologize in advance for that. And again, if you want anything in that video to be revised or make a remake, let me know. Now, on to this. For those of you who don't know how this works, I take something from popular fiction, be it RWBY or possibly anything I can, to the extent of what I know, and I try to explain some of how it works in a scientific kind of way. Now, I know you're all thinking that, these are RWBY's fantasy. There is no way to transfer into real life, but there are actually but if you break it down, there are quite a few parallels in terms of Remnant and Earth as a biosphere. And what I mean by that is that both planets are very much capable of supporting life, sentient life. So, humans, animals, plant life. So, going based off of that, I can make the safe assumption that, Remnant, in some extents, is very similar to planet Earth. And I do believe I have a lot to go off of, because while there is a lot of fantasized ideas in it, there are some still things that are hard grounded along with things of Earth, such as construction materials, city life, food, language. A lot of things can be made into a parallel. So, having said that, let's begin with the FAUNACE. Now, the best way I can explain it is to, one, actually go into the bit of the fantasy side of things. Starting with the two gods that supposedly created life on Remnant, the god of light and the god of darkness. Now, as we all saw in Volume 4, in Crow's tale, just immediately after his fight with Tyrion, he explains that the two gods, who were also brothers, greatly disagreed on how the world of Remnant should have been. Whereas the god of light created life, the god of darkness created destruction. And it was the god of darkness himself who created the creatures of Grimm, specifically to destroy other living creatures. A factor I'll bring into the next, if my revision of my first Science of the Grim video is to be revised to you guys' wishes. Eventually, they decided to end their fight and create something they could both be proud of: humanity, or man, as Crow put it. Now, he did not specifically mention humans, which means one of two things. One, the two gods wanted to try to experiment with how the creation should be. And considering by all accounts, the only other living creatures on Remnant at the time were animalistic, they tried to use that to form a basis of the humans. So in a way, the FAUNACE were sort of like the prototypes to the humanity. which in a way you could say might be discriminating and make them sound inferior. But at the same time, faunus don't only have one visible animal trait. As explained in the series, all faunus are capable of seeing in the dark, nocturnal vision, a trait that many, if not all, animals have in the wild as a form of adaptation. If you don't know how it works, basically their eyes are specially adapted to detect the faintest bits of light during the night, be it from the moon or some like faint forms of light, or basically think of it this way: if you sit like in a dark room for a long enough time with your eyes open, you begin to be able to like see in the dark. Like your peripheral vision will greatly increase. Animals are able to see some animals are even able to see just as well in the dark as they can in the day with this adaptation. This is what gives the and I believe this might not only be an advantage when it comes to like, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that this is a big advantage in the wild. And it could be just the advantage needed to survive, say, a dangerous predator, i.e., the creatures of Grimm. And what I mean by that is, what if there was more to the creation of man than we were told by Crow? Now, one could say, like, you know, the faunus were just like, I guess you could say, a rough draft, just like a test of their methodology. But another one could say two versions of man was created: the human and the faunus. What if the god of dark wanted to just make the humanity at that time weak enough so his creatures of Grimm could destroy them? And what if the god of light wanted to give man just that advantage it needed for survival? Now, bear in mind, I personally have not seen that story in a long time, so some of my facts may be very much out of place, but these are just two theories I believe are possible. Either one, the faunus were a means of testing their methodology, or B, the two created different versions of man for two very different reasons. But one could argue man was supposed to be a creation they could both be proud of, because they could choose either the path of light or darkness, creation or destruction. Either way, this is only the first we've heard of it, and it might be a little early to start making theories. But either way, it has become very apparent that this little fact has shown that there is a massive amount of segregation and sort of conflict between the two races. And, you know, I'm not going to touch up on that, but what I will say is that I think it's about time we get into the more of to my perception, which would be the more scientific aspect of the faunus. Now, during the World of Remnant short faunus, Crow explained that the faunus have been on Remnant about as long as humanity, and by all intents and purposes share almost the exact same template, but except one visible animal trait, that being, i.e., hooves. Not hooves. That being claws, ears, horns, or even a tail. And he also explains that if two faunus of the same animalistic species get together, and they'll have a child with that same animalistic nature. Take one of those faunuses away and pair him or her with a human, and you'll get the same result. But if, say, you take a wolf faunus and a deer faunus, and it's a complete roll of the dice, this gets me, like, thinking of how, like, faunus, I guess you could say, faunus DNA works. Because it's like a fine mixture between human and animalistic DNA, enough to give them both that night vision that was talked about, and their one physical animal characteristic and or behavioral aspects. Which leads back into my theory that the faunus were supposed to be like the next stage in human evolution to survive the creatures of Grimm at that time, before the discovery of dust and the forming of the huntsmen and huntresses and everything else. Because as previously stated, the creatures of Grimm have been a huge issue to overcome on Remnant for pretty much since the beginning of what history we've been told of Remnant to this time in RWBY. Now, let's just get back to it and why I think this is an evolutionary step. Going back to their night vision and their ability to actually see in the dark. This could give them a huge advantage in, like, spotting Grimm that are trying to stalk and hunt them. Not to mention, like, what if those abilities to hear, what if that just gives them that extra amount of just audio awareness? Now, what I mean by that is they'll be able to hear their prey, sneak up on them. Hear their predator, sneak up on them, and be able to invade it before they're attacked. And some horns might be just like a last-ditch means of self-defense. Because we've seen a lot of people, faunus or not, in RWBY, have an incredible amount of strength. More than just like an average human here on Earth. Whether that's up to Aura, which is the more likely candidate, or some form of biological differences that haven't been made apparent in the RWBY universe, again, is up to who is currently writing the story, one of them being Miles Luna. Now for the next point of discussion, which is, why is it that if a human breeds with a faunus, their child will become a faunus? I think that boils down to how the animal kingdom decides how a species should survive. You see, there are many times where a species would either have to evolve and adapt to their environment, or completely die out. This is done by natural selection. What I mean by natural selection is basically nature dictates who lives and who dies. The strongest gene, like the genes that are most suited to their environment, will be the genes that are passed on to the next generation, and so on and so forth. It's a little cruel, but hey, that's nature for you. What if this is sort of a biological this is still like a primeval biological response to the Grimm. Even though there are huntsmen and huntresses out there killing them left and right, they are still a major threat to them as a species from the point of view of the animal kingdom. And since faunas seem to be far more suited to adapt to their situations and defend against Grimm and survive their attacks, what if their genes are somehow from a biological standpoint, more dominant than human genes? Now, how it overlays against human DNA, well, I think that has something to do with the chromosomes that are passed down from the parents. What I mean by that is, well, women have two X chromosomes. A man has an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. And these sort of dictate what gender a child will be when they are developing in the womb or before they are birthed. What if the FAUNACE chromosomes, something about their DNA makeup makes them just that more dominant over the typical human DNA, and that's why human plus FAUNACE equals, well, a baby FAUNACE. Now we get down, and the reason for like, it's obvious why like the two FAUNACE of the same animalistic trait would have a child with that same trait. But as explained to Crow, two FAUNACE of different animalistic characteristics, it's a complete roll of the dice what their animal trait will be. I mean, for all you know, you may have to take, your little bundle of joys dentist will have to keep a little like vial of anti-venom handy just in case his next dentist appointment gets a little dicey. Now, that leads me to my next theory, is that something about like the FAUNACE gene does not just want one trait or the other to be overly dominant. Think of it as sort of a way to make the FAUNACE more biologically diverse. I mean, from what we've seen, the majority of FAUNACE are mammalia, i.e. cats, dogs, rabbits, many different like deers, elks, mammals mostly. But as we recently saw in Volume 4, we saw Tyrion, who is a scorpion FAUNACE, and we saw Ilya, who is a chameleon FAUNACE. They are both arachnid and reptilian FAUNACE. And Crow mentioned that he once saw a man grow back his lizard tail, another reptilian FAUNACE. This gets you thinking that there are more types of FAUNACE, i.e. insectoid, amphibious, marine, but we've only seen like rare cases so far of just arachnid and reptilian FAUNACE, which leads me to either think that one or both of their parents had this particular trait, or perhaps their parents were two completely different FAUNACE, and something about their genes created these completely different traits. As to which one it is, we don't know, since we don't know anything about either of their families. Only that Ilya is a White Fang spy, and Tyrion's, well, a lunatic, to put it nice. Basically makes Ryan Haywood look like a psychiatrist. If you get that reference, you get the ultimate thumbs up from me. But anyway, back to my theory, or back to the discussion. The point being is that, what if this form of just like biological diversity makes sure that like the Grimm themselves also cannot adapt to hunting one particular type of FAUNACE? If the FAUNACE in a group, it just like say start targeting a bunch of like bull FAUNACE or wolf FAUNACE or rabbit FAUNACE, they'll be dealing with multiple FAUNACE of multiple different animalistic traits. For all they know, they could be walking into like into a fight with a crocodile, a spider, and I don't know, a shark faunus. Okay, maybe that might be a bit of a stretch, but you know, you get the point. So, I do believe that is all I have to cover on this particular topic. So, again, guys, let me know if I missed anything you want me to cover, and feel free to say that whether any of these hold water or it sounds like I'm making it up. See if you can. I want us all to get like active in these theories and get us thinking. And if I got any flack for not mentioning much stuff about the world of Remnant itself and forms of magic, hey, I mentioned those two gods. I was talking about their creation. You can't flack me for that one. I can mix mythology and science, people. I'm not that single-minded. But anyway, I do believe that is it for my theory video of the science of the FAUNACE. Again, if you have any other theories on how the FAUNACE DNA works and whether they are any of the things I have mentioned or just another one of Remnant's wonders, let me know in the comments below. Actually, let me know a few things, guys. One, let me know what you want me to cover in the RWBY universe next. Two, let me know your theories on the FAUNACE in the comments. And three, tell me if you want my Science of the Grim video revised, because I'm always happy to do anything for you guys. Hey, share this with your friends if they're a fan of RWBY and they want to start, start mingling with little talks about the different parts of Remnant. Check out my DeviantArt. Please leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stuff from your buddy Professor Games. I do like actual gameplay videos, and I will be immediately continuing my playthrough of Combat Evolved via the Master Chief Collection. Excuse me, I've been talking too much. So yeah, just let me know all that, and I do believe that is all there is to say. So, this has been the Science of the Grim, and this is Steeljaw. It's gonna take a while to grow out of. This is Professor Games, signing out, guys.